So only thing they'll hear is your voice. All right. So we have a new study. This is the development of penicillin. Okay, this is when penicillin was found. So Fleming, in 1928, Sir Alexander Fleming was studying Staphylococcus bacteria growing in culture dishes. He noticed that the mold called penicillin, which he didn't know at the time, he discovered it, was also growing in some of the dishes. A clear area existed around the mold because all the bacteria that had grown in this area had died. In the culture dishes without the mold, no clear area was present. All right. Fleming hypothesized that the mold must be producing a chemical that kills bacteria. He decided to isolate the substance and test it to see if it would kill the bacteria. Fleming transferred the mold to a nutrient-rich broth solution. The solution contained all the material the mold needed to grow. After the mold grew, he removed it from the nutrient-rich broth. Fleming then added the nutrient broth in which the mold had grown to a culture of bacteria. He observed that the bacteria died. So the problem was what?
Get like the mold. Wait.
So the original problem is he was growing this bacteria. What did he notice about his bacteria?
It was like, oh, hang on.
It's in the first paragraph, so it's right up here. So he was growing bacteria, and then in a dish that had this mold growing on it, what happened? The bacteria did what?
It like started to go on dishes, and it like mold, like it had grown and stuff.
Okay, so let me recap it. Okay, so this guy was studying Staphylococcus. That's a type of bacteria, and he had Staphylococcus in a dish, and then he noticed that there was mold growing in some of the dishes. Where the dish with the mold was at, he noticed that the bacteria was dying, but in dishes that didn't have the mold, the bacteria wasn't dying. Okay, so what's the problem that he had? While he was
like the mold started to grow on the plates, and then it like started to die.
There you go. Started to kill his bacteria. So maybe he's getting money for studying Staphylococcus, right? And then he just like, oh my gosh, I'm growing the staph, and it's dying all the time. Why is it dying? You know. So that's actually his problem. So his problem was the mold. Not the mold was growing, but the mold was killing his bacteria.
Yeah.
All right. Now, that's his problem. So we're going to go to the next question, which is number 7. What did he hypothesize? What did he think?
That was like going to just die off.
No, say your question right here is correct. You said that the mold was producing a chemical that killed the bacteria. So you're correct. How was it? How did he test his hypothesis? He isolated, like you just said. Next time, just be a little bit more clear. You said he isolated it. He isolated the mold and put it in bacteria, and then he noticed if it died or didn't die, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then should the hypothesis be supported or rejected? So you said should be supported. That's correct. All right, the experiment led to the development of penicillin, which is correct. So now this is the part where you got lost and didn't finish. All right, so let's look at this. The independent variable is the thing in the experiment the scientist is changing. Okay. So let me see if I can. Let me come back over here. I'm gonna pull a whiteboard up real quick. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna draw a dish. Okay. So if you can notice on the very first page again that he had several dishes. So he's growing staph. He's got this bacteria growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of his dishes that he's growing bacteria. In one dish, I'm going to change it to green. He noticed that there's a mold growing. Okay. So here's a mold that's growing. And then I'm going to put a mold over here in this one. Okay. So he noticed the mold is growing. And where that mold is growing, so I'm going to draw that's our dish. This is our bacteria. This is our bacteria right here. All right. In this dish, I'm going to have a nice circle of bacteria. This dish, I'm going to have a nice circle of bacteria. But in this dish right here, I'm going to have this little half moon area. like this, where the mold is dying. Do you see that? So
Yeah.
I have a little spot here, this little spot here. So what he's got all these dishes growing staff, and he sees these dishes, and he's like, I got mold right here, and my bacteria is dying. It's over here. It is too. Look at there. My bacteria is dying right there. Over here, these guys are good, but I don't notice any mold. So I wonder if that mold is creating a chemical that's causing my bacteria to die. All right.
Mhm.
So now that you can see our diagram, what is the independent variable? What is the thing the scientist is changing?
Like the bacteria.
Do all the dishes have bacteria?
Yes.
Okay. So all the dishes have bacteria. So that's not being changed. What is
No.
being?
The mold.
The mold, the dishes with the mold. That's correct. So let's go back over to, dishes with the mold. So let's put that in there. So dishes with the mold. Dishes with the, and because I put the mold in the dishes, what do I notice about my bacteria?
It's starting to like die off. It's like starting to.
The bacteria is dying when exposed to mold, right?
Mhm.
All right. Now I'm gonna flip back over there real quick. So what do you notice that are the same?
That they're both played like well.
All right, we got the dishes. Dishes are the same, right?
Yeah.
So dishes. What else?
They're both a bacteria.
Bacteria is all the same. And anything else you can think of?
They're both starting to die.
All right. So he also made a broth. Do you remember that in the story?
No.
So he basically said he made a nutrient-rich broth that the mold could grow in. And then what he did was he took the mold out of the broth, he took the broth, and he put the broth in his bacteria. And every dish that he put the broth in, the bacteria died. Okay.
Mhm.
So he had dishes, bacteria, broth. He probably the time he checked everything, all that type of stuff is the same. All right. Then
Yeah.
which group do you think would be the control group? Now, this is the group that's normal. The group
Probably bacteria.
the group that's going to die, or the group that's going to live? Which one do you think?
Die.
All right. So the normal group is your group that you expect no change to occur. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you expect no change to occur on the one that he doesn't put the broth in.
Yeah.
So the group with no change. So that's the group with no broth or mold in. All right. So that's that one. Do you understand this a little better now?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see over here. So I'm going to write, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to say second virtual meeting went over assignment, and you got everything correct except you didn't get the control on the staff. I had to help you with staff part. -1. All right. You missed one on the constants on each one. Missed one constant on each. I had to give you the one constant on each, so that's -2 points. All right. And then, you remember anything else you made a mistake? Oh, you still had trouble with your hypothesis on the first one.
Yeah.
All right. So on berry. So that's another -1 point. All right. So that's -4 points total. So -4 points total. And so that's going to give you, what is that, 18 out of 22? 18 out of about 22 is a much better score. and a 22 gives you an 82%. Much better than a 40%, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to that. 82. Okay, I'm going to save that. All right, man. So I want you to do something in the next week. Obviously, keep up. But I also want you to go through your stuff because next Friday I have to have assignments graded. So I want you to go through your grades and make sure there's nothing else you need to work on. And then we will, let me stop recording this. See that. Let me see. Stop recording. How do I stop recording? There it is. All right. Stop.